Welcome guys to Research Design Build. This episode you're going to want to watch right to the end. The end results for this I think are going to blow your minds. Starting off with 3/4 inch MDF, this is going to be a super cheap countertop to build, but the end result is going to be kind of next level. So stay tuned for that, and without further ado, we'll get into the build. I won't kind of run through all the little nitty-gritty details like I have in some of my other videos. Try to give you guys more of a high-level overview. So what I'm doing, this is MDF, so this 3/4 inch MDF. I'm going to be doubling it up so that it's actually 1.5 inches thick in most areas. All the areas that you can see, touch, feel will all be full 1.5 inches. Over here we'll have a sink, so next step for me will be dogs. So next step for me will be to get the sink cut out and in place. This will be an undermount sink, and then cut out for the faucet. I've got a joint right here, and so I've got dominoes that have gone in here that are they're attaching this together so that this will all end up being one solid piece. And I'm just getting ready as well. So now that I've got this cut and roughed in here, I will scribe it along the back so it matches up nicely with the wall, get the sink where I want it, figure out where I need to cut in for my faucet, and then start marking for where I need to trim for the final length, both in front of the cabinets and here at the end.
So here's the underside of the main countertop, and so you can see with the sink cut out, and then I'm just laminating a extra layer of 3/4 inch MDF around all of the perimeters that are going to show once the countertop is mounted. So the main sort of middle section that is going to be over top of the counters I left without, just from a weight and material savings. I've also routered a groove, or I didn't use a router, sorry, I used my track saw to cut this groove out here, which I'm hoping to be able to add some LED lights down the road, so that I'll save that for another project. So with all of that finished and sanded, this is after probably the second coat of the 2K epoxy primer. And so sanding in between coats and just trying to get everything sealed really well. Especially the edges, those are the big challenges. So here I've gone into a couple of spots and added a little bit of body filler, just to fully seal and make sure that that sort of area where the two pieces were laminated together was perfectly smooth, and was going to lead to a seamless result when it was all said and done.
All right, so to get the countertop to this stage, what we've done, or what I've done here, is I've got about 3 coats of primer down, and I've used a 2K high build epoxy primer, an automotive style primer. The reason for this was, one, it dries quite quickly, so it doesn't give the MDF a lot of time to absorb the product in. The second thing that I've done to sort of eliminate that issue of the MDF just sucking in all of the product and then leaving none on the surface is to sand it down to a very high finish. So I sanded it all the way down to 500 grit before doing that, and that kind of almost polishes the MDF and seals up some of those pores, I find. Once I did that, sanded everything down, had to work on this seam. There's a seam right here, so I had to make sure that that was perfect, and also worked on the seams around the whole edge, because again I got 2 layers of MDF sandwiched together, and then went on to the finished coat. So I did 2 coats of base. This is going to be a two-part finish, so 2 coats of the base coat, No sanding in between, just left them for, roughly 10 minutes, 15 minutes to tack up, and then went and did a second coat, just to make sure that I've got an even color coverage over everything. It is white, so coverage isn't great, but I did use a white primer, so that helped. Then once those two coats had tacked up, then it was time to switch over to spraying clear. And so I sprayed 2 coats of clear as well, again letting them tack up in between. That was going to give me enough surface or a thick enough layer of clear coat that I could then start wet sanding. So to wet sand, I'm mainly going to be using 2000 grit. I've got quite a nice flat surface here to start with. Again, I'm not in a regular automotive spray booth, so I do have like a couple little specks of dirt and that sort of thing in the finish that I believe I'll be able to sand out without any issues. Just a little bit of dust or whatever here and there, but fairly minor overall. So once I've got everything wet sanded, so I've got sandpaper that you can use in the wet. I've got it on a block, so I'm not going to be like gouging in with my fingers anywhere. And then I've just got regular water with a little bit of soap in it. And the soap is just for a little added lubricity, just so that when you are sanding it and wet sanding it, you aren't digging into any edges. If you pick up material, that will kind of wash away, and you're not then grinding it in somewhere else. Once I finish the wet sanding, then I'll go on to polishing, and so I've got a 2-stage sort of polishing system that I'm going to try out on this, hopefully to get a just flawless mirror finish. So right now the clear coat's looking pretty good, but I do have like a little bit of orange peel there that I want to try to correct. I think my nozzle that I was using in my gun, I was using a 1.4 millimeter, and I think that's a little bit too big. When I went back to Fuji Spray's recommendation, they're recommending a 1 millimeter nozzle, so I do have one of those on order. So we'll get to wet sanding this and polishing.
One thing I did notice when polishing this is that you can go a lot harder on it than you could if it was an automotive panel on metal. Must have to do something with the heat buildup, but you can really lay into it a lot harder without burning through. So after lots of sanding and polishing, here is the final result for the side panel of the countertop, or sort of the waterfall area, if you will, and it turned out great. Down the road, I would like to sort of improve my paint booth sort of setup. It would help me a lot, and definitely cut back on the amount of work I have after I'm done. So after this, I wanted to try out a product that's got a lot of press recently, and that's sort of the ceramic coatings for cars and automotive paint. Since this is automotive paint, I figured I would give it a try. Now this is the super cheap stuff off Amazon, so I think this is like $16 for the bottle. You can spend up to $250 on a bottle. But this stuff worked really good. Can't really compare it to anything else, but I'm happy with the results I got. So now it's time for the install and all the finishing touches, including the sink and the faucet. If you are interested in how to install backsplash, I've got another video which I'll put a link to above that will walk you through that entire process.
Well guys, here it is. I'm finally finished this project. Feels great to be done. This is kind of like the last thing that I had to do in the basement to get everything finished off. So I've got a huge bar countertop here. I guess not huge, but pretty decent size. Full 1.5 inch thick. We've got high gloss paint on it. This is automotive paint. I've actually painted this with BMW Alpinweiss III white. Which you would have found on the BMW M3 and a bunch of other cars like that. And this was, I think paint code was BMW paint code 300. if you are looking for it. It is a really nice white, but if you compare it to like a pure white, it's kind of a little bit towards the gray side, just ever so slightly, which gives it a little bit more depth and a little bit more character. So really, really happy with how it turned out. I'll take you around and show you a few of the details and finishing features of it.
So I was going for that really clean, modern look here. So these are all IKEA cabinets, but again painted with the high gloss BMW Alpinweiss III paint. And we got the push to open, the soft close on all of the doors and the drawers as well. And did quite a bit of work to try to get this as compact as possible, but at the same time being functional and not having anything run into each other when it opens. Originally, I really wanted to do this countertop in one piece, including sort of the side, but I was really worried about transporting it down after it was painted, the weight of it, and being able to sort of fit it down the stairwell. I was worried about being able to get that joint strong enough to be able to handle the stress and not crack the paint or do something like that in transit. So I ended up doing it in two pieces and sort of cutting this little bit of a reveal, which actually matches a reveal that's on my handrail going down the stairs. And so this allowed me to do it in two pieces, and then I just used some large domino joints to connect it once it was in place. Made the project a lot more manageable, and really like the end result. Originally I was planning to put this plug on the end of the counter, but coming down the stairs I didn't think that looking at a plug right away was the nicest, so I went and hid it underneath the bar a little bit here, and I figured that this plug will mainly be used by people who want to charge their phone or something like that, so having it easy access for them is probably acceptable in this case, and aesthetically it kind of hides it too. The other feature that I wanted to kind of squeak into this project was some hidden storage. So because of the design, I was able to put this sort of 24 by 24 cabinet into the back. So this allows us to hide away all of our games and that sort of thing that don't get accessed every single day in a nice out of the way spot that still has easy access when you need it.
I hope you guys have liked this project as much as I have enjoyed building it. And if you have any questions, or if you have any other builds you'd like to see, or any more details on any parts of the build, please leave them in the comment section below, and I will make sure to get back to you. And if it's something that I can help you out with, I would be glad to do so. So please stay tuned for future builds. Hit that subscribe button and give the video a like if you could. That'll help me out immensely, and it'll let you know when I've got new content coming up. I got a few more builds coming up in the near future, and it would be great to have you guys tune into those as well. Thanks.